I'm Huples Cat. This video is going to deal with the Indian-Pakistan war and the potential for it to get worse. They've gone to war 3 times in the past. They've had numerous arguments about Kashmir. Kashmir was a mainly Muslim province handed over to the mainly Hindu India in the partition of 1947. Pakistan is not happy about that. At the moment on May 11, 2025, they are not at war and they have not been at war, but they're having significant attacks on each other. That could lead to war. In my opinion, they should only fight on the cricket pitch. Tens of thousands on both sides have died since partition in 1947. But for us in the West, what would be the consequences if they went nuclear? Both sides are very heavily armed with nuclear weapons. There's 2 extreme theories on this. The mainstream one says that 2 to 3 billion people around the globe would die. The other one says it would be no big deal and kind of glosses over the 125 million Indians and Pakistanis who would die. Both of these scenarios are hammer blows to both Pakistan and India. One is an apocalyptic scenario for the entire globe. I know the opinion of most online preppers will be go for the apocalyptic one because it's sexier and you'll get more views. In my opinion, I think both scenarios are unlikely. It'll be somewhere probably in the middle. What I do know is I hope we never find out. Unless they actually have a full nuclear exchange, all of this remains speculation, even the science. My view on this is much the same as the Prime Minister of Canada, in that
one of the responsibilities is to prepare for the worst, not hope for the best.
How well armed are both sides? That question is easily answered. But who arms them and who are their neighbours? Both these crucial questions are often ignored in most prepping videos and non-prepping videos on this topic. They won't be in this video. Both sides have relatively huge military forces. Both sides mainly view each other as their biggest military threat. On paper, India should win a conventional war, but drones and AI are not yet a feature of public information, and both would be critical. In fact, for either side to occupy significant territory of the other would be a huge thing to do and cost an enormous amount of money, and of course kill a lot of people. In a major conventional war, tens to hundreds of thousands of troops on both sides will die. Both India and Pakistan have a lot of seriously large nuclear weapons, and both sides have decent launch capacities. This is one of the many reasons a limited nuclear war in the region is such a global threat. By the way, limited here isn't really limited in terms of outcome. You're looking at more than the total deaths in World War II. In the 1971 war, the Cold War played a huge factor. This picture is from an Indian source, so take it lightly. China was involved directly. The Soviet Union forced British and American aircraft carriers out of the region. The Soviet Union then threatened China if they got further involved, and the Soviet Union forged a very uneasy peace. Neither side had nukes at the time, but if they had, I could see Pakistan using them in that war, as it sort of lost badly. Flash forward to 2025 and China occupies part of the disputed lands, and regular clashes occur. Would China stay out of a nuclear war next to its land? I think it's unlikely. Would America stay out if China uses troops and/or nukes to stop the war? I consider that possibly unlikely. Lest we forget human-caused climate change, and you know this channel won't, water access from the Himalayan glaciers is critical to all 3 countries in the area. It directly affects their self-interest and is one of the major causes of conflict here, other than religion. At the current time, both India and Pakistan are quite able to nuke their rivals' main cities, all of their main cities. In that event, no one would win, which is why a nuclear war has been discounted by most people. Both sides are quite capable of retaliating after a first strike. They plan for this. Along with the most extreme forecast of so many dead globally, no one can really believe that a regional war would be fought with nuclear weapons to such extreme in the area. Now, both sides of the globe geopolitically sell weapons to both sides. This makes forecasting reactions to geopolitical events in the region complex. If Pakistan sends one nuke on New Delhi, the result is appalling. If India sends one on Islamabad, the result is appalling. This should never happen. Would a very limited nuclear exchange be worse than a conventional full war? Yes, in my opinion. You might want to notice that Iran also borders Pakistan. The risks of a spreading war are very high, especially if nuclear weapons are used. China may well stay out of such a war and then occupy both sides to bring them supplies. They would be the only player in the region that could do it on a large enough scale. Once they've occupied, would they leave? Probably not. The low impact theory is both sides would not use them, as if they do a first strike, their neighbour would unleash on them. This is comforting, but if one of the sides was losing very badly a conventional war, I do think they would use them. The past is not a clear guide to the future. Remember Prime Minister Carney's warning?
Is to prepare for the worst, not hope for the best.
Now, what is certain, both sides are preparing for the worst, as do the locals in the frequent times of tension. Missiles and fighter jets may one day lead to tanks and troops, which could force one side to use tactical nukes, and then Okay, this is the worst case, and this is where Europe and North America get affected, so we all need to
prepare for the worst, not hope for the best.
Now, the worst case from Tune Atoll has been very well publicised. They use current climate models to predict what happens in a full nuclear regional war. It is sobering, and I encourage you to read it. It has also been sort of debunked, which means a reversal of human-caused climate change for a year or two, and of course hundreds of millions dead in the region. You can, of course, and should argue both sides, but as a prepper, know if a full war starts, prepare for the extreme case immediately, before it happens, or it is noted as a concern by most of your neighbours. You would need to stockpile a lot of food very quickly. Now, both sides have well over 100 nukes, but Tune Atoll used 100 per side or 200 total, falling on likely military and civilian areas. They used very underpowered nukes in their calculations, and the worst time of year. That time is around April.
April is the cruelest month.
The worst case, of course, is nuclear winter. In the 1980s, the United States is the day after ignored it. But the United Kingdom's Threads very much did not ignore it, and I do strongly encourage you to watch Threads. Again, people are arguing if a nuclear winter would happen. Science clearly says yes, but your job as a prepper
Is to prepare for the worst, not hope for the best.
This would represent a huge drop in land and seafood sources for a year or more due to much of the current Pakistani and Indian cities and people burning and entering the stratosphere. Again, let me point out, this is a worst case scenario. But even without a nuclear global winter, the effects would in fact be global. In the worst case scenario, rainfall around the globe drops hugely for about 10 years. Now 5 to 10% might not sound a lot, but we're already experiencing droughts due to climate changes. Famine would be global within a year. Are your food stocks and production robust? The world's poor would be crushed and likely killed by this regional war in the worst case scenario. What you'd probably see without even the nuclear winter is migration by hundreds of millions northwards due to the ecological damage and poor harvest areas. This may well see violence on an unprecedented huge scale as the West attempts to defend its borders from literally tens of millions of people desperate to get in. As I keep saying, my nuclear war videos have a lot of clear plastic sheeting and panes of glass. Why? Ozone loss will cause cancer, blindness and DNA disruption on all living organisms, even you. Corn is specifically at risk from this. Again, this would be a further cause of global famine from a regional nuclear war. I would like to remind you again, despite scientific modelling, denial, hope or fear, the exact effects are unknown, but the known best case effects are awful. The USA did in fact broker a ceasefire. It lasted a few hours at this point on May 10th, 2025. There'll be an update about May 11th, 2025 at the end of this video. They're still skirmishing.
India has its gripes with Pakistan. Pakistan has responded to India. What we can do is try to encourage these folks to de-escalate a little bit, but we're not going to get involved in the middle of a war that's fundamentally none of our business.
Will America keep its troops out if China occupies or destroyed Pakistan, or destroyed India, or destroyed Pakistan and India? What if China uses troops and or nukes to end this war? What then? I hope we never find out. America may wish to stay out of it, they may not be able to. Questions to ask yourself is what effect on the world would it have, and what effect would it have on you immediately and in the long term if there's a 2 to 3 Celsius drop in global temperatures, with a global drop in rainfall, accompanied by hundreds of millions dead and injured and in a radioactive subcontinent. In my opinion, all bets are off if that happens. Do not let others tell you it's no big deal. It would be a huge big deal. Small changes in temperature have huge effects, as most people are now starting to realise. In the worst case from Tune Atoll, this goes on for literally decades. Growing seasons are bad for us, worsen for years, and droughts worsen for decades. The level of ultraviolet radiation hitting the Earth increases for decades. So hope for peace, but prepare for the worst. Some conflicts are unthinkable, but they can happen. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to give me subscriptions. It kind of validates me. Have a great week. Toodles. This video has been brought to you by Wolfie Terrier Productions. Wolfie stands on guard for tea.